meeting. Good morning. We are about to start.
Is it okay if I be more forceful?
Excelencias,
Excellencies, distinguished delegates, colleagues, dear friends, very good morning. I declare open the 7th meeting of the second regular session 2025 of this Executive Board of the UNDP, UNFPA and UNOPS. This segment is being held in accordance with the rules of procedure of the Executive Board and the approved annual work plan. We will now proceed to item 14 of the agenda, the adoption of decisions and the approval of the regional UNDP program documents for Africa, Asia and the Pacific, the Arab states, Europe and the CIS, Latin America and the Caribbean for the period 2026-2029. And I have here on the podium with me Ms. Massa Jafari, Secretary of the Executive Board, and I would like to thank her again for her efficient work to prepare this meeting. The Board will now consider the adoption of the 12 decisions and the approval of the regional program documents of UNDP. If there are no objections, I will consider that the Executive Board would like to approve the draft decision on item 2, up-to-date information on the evaluation of the way in which the Executive Director exercises their governance and oversight functions. It is so decided. We're off to a good start. If I hear no objection, I will take it that the Executive Board wishes to adopt the draft decision on item 11, UNOPS Strategic Plan 2026-2029. It is so decided.
de no haber objeciones,
If I hear no objection, I will take it that the Executive Board wishes to adopt the draft decision on item 12, financial, budgetary and administrative matters on the UNOPS budget estimates for the biennium 2026-2027 and the annual statistical report on procurement activities of United Nations System Organizations 2024. It is so decided. If I hear no objection, I will take it that the Executive Board wishes to adopt the draft decision on item 13, third-party review of the comprehensive response plan and the associated management response. It is so decided. If I hear no objection, I will take it that the Executive Board wishes to adopt the draft decision on item 17, Process Innovation and Digitalization Program and Funding. It is so decided. If I hear no objection, I will take it that the Executive Board wishes to adopt the draft decision on item 7, UNFPA Strategic Plan 2026-2029. It is so decided. If I hear no objection, I will take it that the Executive Board wishes to adopt the draft decision on item 8, financial, budgetary and administrative matters on the UNFPA Integrated Budget 2026-2029. It is so decided. If I hear no objection, I will take it that the Executive Board wishes to adopt the draft decision on item 9, UNFPA Structured Funding Dialogue. It is so decided. If I hear no objections, I will take it that the Executive Board wishes to adopt the draft decision on item 3, UNDP Strategic Plan 2026-2029. It is so decided. We have 3 strategic plans adopted. We're making excellent progress. If I hear no objection, I will take it that the Executive Board wishes to adopt the draft decision on item 4, financial, budgetary and administrative matters on the UNDP Integrated Resource Plan and Integrated Budget Estimates 2026-2029. It is so decided. If I hear no objection, I will take it that the Executive Board wishes to adopt the draft decision on item 5, UNDP Structured Funding Dialogue. It is so decided. Lastly, if I hear no objection, I will take it that the Executive Board wishes to adopt the draft decision on item 15, UNDP Evaluation. It is so decided.
Pasamos a la aprobación de los documentos.
We will move on to the approval of the UNDP regional program documents. We shall now proceed to the approval of the UNDP regional program documents. If I hear no objection, I will take it that the Executive Board wishes to approve the UNDP regional program document for Africa 2026-2029. It is so decided. If I hear no objection, I will take it that the Board wishes to approve the UNDP regional program document for Arab states 2026-2029. It is so decided. If I hear no objection, I will take it that the Board wishes to approve the UNDP regional program document for Europe and the CIS 2026-2029. It is so decided. If I hear no objections, I will take it that the Board wishes to approve the UNDP regional program document for Latin America and the Caribbean 2026-2029. It is so decided. If I hear no objection, I will take it that the Board wishes to approve the UNDP regional program document for Asia and the Pacific 2026-2029. It is so decided. The Board's decisions and discussions from this session will be reflected in the report of the second regular session, which will be circulated in due course.
Hacemos una breve pausa.
We'll take a short break to rearrange the podium, please.
If the regional directors come and join me on the podium, I will appreciate very much. Continuamos con el punto 6.
We shall now continue item 6, UNDP program countries and related matters, in relation with which the board will consider the approval of the country program documents and the extension of country programs. I would like to welcome to the podium Ms. Arona Sentsova, the Director of the Regional Office for Africa, Ms. Imana Sivkovic, Director of the Regional Office for Europe and the CIS, and Ms. Kani Wajarama, Assistant Administrator and Director, Regional Bureau for Asia and the Pacific. 16 country program documents will be presented for your consideration and approval in accordance with Executive Board Decision 2014/7 for the Africa region, Côte d'Ivoire, Eswatini, Liberia, and Uganda; for Europe and the CIS, Armenia, Republic of Belarus, Bosnia-Herzegovina, Kazakhstan, Republic of North Macedonia, Serbia, including the results of the resource framework for Kosovo as an addendum, Turkey, Turkmenistan, and Uzbekistan; for the Asia and the Pacific region, China, Indonesia, and Timor-Leste. The Executive Board is also requested to approve the 6th two-year extension of the country program for Afghanistan, approve the 4th one-year extension of the country program for Myanmar, approve the 2nd one-year extension of the country program for Yemen, and take note of the 1st one-year extension of the country programs for Lebanon, Libya, and Tunisia. Before I give the floor to the UNDP regional directors to present the country program documents, I would like to, first of all, address the subject of the extensions of the country programs. If I hear no objection, I will take it that the Executive Board would like to approve the 6th two-year extension of the country program for Afghanistan and the 4th one-year extension of the country program for Myanmar. I see no objection. It is so decided. If I hear no objections, I will consider that the Executive Board wishes to approve the 2nd one-year extension of the country program for Yemen. I see no objection. It is so decided. Lastly, if I hear no objection, I will take it that the Executive Board wishes to take note of the 1st one-year extension of the country programs for Lebanon, Libya, and Tunisia, which have been approved by the administrator as presented in the document DP/2025/17. I see no objections. It is so decided.
Ahora pasamos a la consideración para.
We will now move on to the consideration for the Africa region, Côte d'Ivoire, Eswatini, Liberia, and Uganda. Ms. Eziakonwa, you have the floor to present these documents. You have the floor.
Thank you, and good morning, Mr. President, to you and to the distinguished members of the Executive Board, and of course our esteemed representatives of the member states, particularly member states of the countries that we're looking at today. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm really pleased to be able to present for your approval the country program documents for Côte d'Ivoire, Eswatini, Liberia, and Uganda. These 4 programs were formulated as usual in close consultation with the respective governments and also a broad range of stakeholders and our close partners. They are firmly anchored in national development strategies. They are aligned with the UN Sustainable Development Cooperation Frameworks, the African Union's Agenda 2063, and the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, and the new UNDP Strategic Plan 2026 to 2029. Thank you so much for adopting it, because that really legitimizes also this country program documents in terms of alignment. Above all, these program documents are guided by the principle of leaving no one behind. I want to extend heartfelt gratitude to member states for their constructive engagement and also the valuable inputs that we received, which helped to enrich these documents. Let me start with Côte d'Ivoire. You know, Côte d'Ivoire is one of Africa's fastest growing economies, with quite significant progress that's been made in poverty reduction and human development. Yet we see that challenges persist, especially with youth unemployment, informality, and vulnerability of climate risks. The new CPD, therefore, prioritizes inclusive structural transformation with a focus on women, youth, and vulnerable groups. Through support to governance, digitalization, and institutional capacity building, UNDP will foster social cohesion, green jobs, and resilience to climate change. Second is Eswatini, a country that still faces a high rate of poverty and rising inequality, compounded by limited economic diversification. The CPD will therefore support national efforts for economic transformation, youth empowerment, and climate resilience. It will advance inclusive governance. It will promote MSMEs and also digital innovation and strengthen environmental sustainability, all anchored on promotion of gender equality. Liberia. This is a country that has maintained democratic stability but continues to face institutional fragility, poverty, and climate risks. The CPD aligns with the government's arrest agenda and also its Vision 2030. It focuses on human capital development through equitable services and digital innovation, stronger governance and social cohesion, as well as climate action and inclusive green growth. UNDP will also support domestic resource mobilization through the integrated national financing framework. Lastly, Uganda. Uganda has made steady progress, nearing graduation from least developed country status. However, regional disparities, reliance on subsistence agriculture, and climate vulnerability remain significant challenges. And this CPD supports Uganda's Vision 2040 and the fourth National Development Plan of the country, with a focus on transformative human development, climate smart ecosystems, and inclusive governance. Mr. President, distinguished members, the four CPDs before you presented today reflect national ownership, very strong alignment with continental and global frameworks, and of course, UNDP's commitment to inclusive and sustainable development. We will adopt a systems and portfolio approach to promote green innovation, expand opportunities for youth, and strengthen institutions to ensure progress benefits all. We expect the Executive Board to approve the country program documents for these four countries, and we look forward to working closely with the governments to implement their respective country programs effectively. And we want to reaffirm our
Muchas gracias, señora.
Thank you very much, Ms. Eziakonwa. I now open the floor for comments. Côte d'Ivoire, please. Thank you, sir. Excellencies, dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. I wish to thank Ms. Ahuna Eziakonwa, Regional Director of the UNDP for Africa, for the quality of the CPD for Côte d'Ivoire for 2026-2030, presented by you, Madam, for final review in view for its adoption by our board. It's important to recall that this new country programme was drafted according to an inclusive and participatory process and is in perfect coherence with our national priorities, especially those defined in the National Development Plan 2026 to 2030, currently being finalised, and the cooperation framework of the UN for Sustainable Development, CCDD 2026 to 2030. This document that seeks to support Côte d'Ivoire in its ambition to build together a nation of solidarity, stability and prosperity was approved and officially endorsed by the Ivorian government. We particularly welcome the introduction of initiatives contributing to accelerating structural transformation of the Ivorian economy through innovation, digitalization and the promotion of green jobs, focusing on socioeconomic inclusion of vulnerable groups, in particular women, youth and rural populations in target regions, in this case the north and the mountainous north and eastern regions, western regions rather, of Côte d'Ivoire that really need growth to leave nobody behind, and also the planned support of strengthening local government social cohesion as well as modernisation of public services through digitalisation by guiding the priorities of the country programme on climate and digital in order to capitalise on the comparative advantages of UNDP leadership on these issues. The Ivorian government and its strategic partner are providing the means to overcome the significant challenges to meaningfully improve living conditions for the populations across the country. I'd wish to applaud the crucial role played by the UNDP in Côte d'Ivoire, supporting governance, consolidation and building of peace, mobilising domestic and external resources, supporting the efforts of the government to accelerate the implementation of the SDGs. The government and all of its national stakeholders are counting on the effective implementation of this cooperation framework to support the efforts of the government to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals and the goals of the new programme for 2026 to 2030, aligned with the 2063 Agenda of the African Union and the 2030 Agenda of the African Union. Thank you. I give the floor to Uganda, please.
Mr. President, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, Uganda commenced the UN Development Program in Uganda for consulting with the Uganda government and other relevant stakeholders during the preparation of the draft UNDP country program document for Uganda 2026-2030, which is fully aligned to Uganda Vision 2040, National Development Plan 4, 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, and Agenda 2063. Uganda also commends the UNDP as well as the wider UN entities and partners for their critical contribution towards the implementation of the ending CPD for Uganda 2021-2025. Excellencies, Uganda has demonstrated her commitment to scale up its national efforts towards the realization of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and its 17 Sustainable Development Goals. This commitment is reflected in her third Voluntary National Review Report, which was presented during the High-Level Political Forum on Sustainable Development in July 2024. Uganda endorses the presentation of the draft CPD, UNDP CPD 2026-2030 to the Executive Board for approval. It provides the framework that shall guide the collaboration between the Ugandan government and UNDP in Uganda under the coordination of the UN Resident Coordinator. The program's three interlinked and mutually reinforcing strategic portfolios are envisaged to support the achievement of three outcome areas of the UN Sustainable Development Cooperation Framework for Uganda 2026-2030 and contribute to Uganda's vision of building a modern, people-centered, independent, integrated, resilient, self-sustaining economy, which is at the center of Uganda's NDP 4 and this Vision 2040. We realize now more than ever the need to remain focused on high impact growth areas that will propel a double-digit growth over 5 years period and subsequently contribute to Uganda's tenfold growth of the economy over the 15 years leading up to 2040. Uganda acknowledges the development results achieved during the ending CPD. Uganda learned lessons from its implementation and has now positioned itself to leverage this experience to collectively and better monitor with UNDP in holistic the progress towards the attainment of this draft CPD outcome indicators, which are anchored in the UNCDCF for Uganda 2026-2030. In conclusion, I reiterate Uganda's commitment to ensure the full and timely implementation of this CPD in line with its national development plans and priorities. We call upon the international community to mobilize and provide the required support towards the implementation.
Agradezco
I thank Uganda for your statement, and I now give the floor to Eswatini. Eswatini, you have the floor.
Mr. President, members of the Executive Board, Excellencies, distinguished colleagues, on behalf of the Government of the Kingdom of Eswatini, I wish to express my sincere appreciation to UNDP for the presentation of the proposed country program document for 2026 to 2030. My delegation fully endorses this country program, and we reaffirm our commitment to supporting UNDP's presence in Eswatini. We particularly value the inclusive and consultative approach taken by the UNDP country team in engaging government institutions, private sector, civil society, and development partners in shaping of the new program. We are therefore pleased to confirm that the proposed program is well aligned with our national development priorities, including our National Development Plan for 2023 to 2028, and the commitments we made under the African Union Agenda 2063, amongst other commitments. Mr. President, Eswatini, as a low middle income country, continues to face significant development challenges, including high youth unemployment, persistent poverty, and vulnerability to climate change. As a landlocked and climate-sensitive country, the Kingdom of Eswatini is disproportionately affected by environmental shocks, which threaten to reverse hard-won development gains. We are therefore grateful that the CPD rightly emphasizes resilient building, inclusive growth, sustainable development, which are central to our agenda for national development. Mr. President, to zoom in on our climate situation, the increasing frequency of climate-related shocks such as droughts and floods continue to pose significant risks to our development agenda. We therefore appreciative of UNDP's leadership in climate resilience and environmental sustainability, which has been instrumental in strengthening the country's adaptive capacity. As we speak, Eswatini is currently articulating its NDC 3.0 with technical support from UNDP. In conclusion, Mr. President, we would like to take this opportunity to call on UNDP to continue its advocacy for countries in special situations such as ourselves, and to underscore the urgent need for scaled up climate financing. Going forward, we look forward to deepening our partnership with UNDP and to working together to achieve transformative and inclusive development outcomes. I thank you.
gracias a usted por
Thank you for your comments, for your statement. This concludes our review of the country program documents for Côte d'Ivoire, Eswatini, Liberia, and Uganda in accordance with Executive Board Decision 2014/7. If I hear no objections, I will take it that the Executive Board wishes to approve these UNDP country program documents. I see no objections. It is so decided.
decidido. Doy ahora la palabra.
I now give the floor to Ms. Zivkovic to present the country program documents for Armenia, Belarus, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Kazakhstan, the Republic of North Macedonia, Serbia, including the results and resources framework for Kosovo as an addendum, Turkey, Turkmenistan, and Uzbekistan. Ms. Director, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished members of the Executive Board, Excellencies, I'm pleased to present to you 9 country program documents from Europe and the Commonwealth of Independent States. Armenia, Belarus, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Kazakhstan, North Macedonia, Serbia, which also includes the results and resources framework for Kosovo as an addendum, Turkey, Turkmenistan, and Uzbekistan. UNDP greatly appreciates the close collaboration with all stakeholders in the preparation of these documents. Each CPD is closely aligned with national priorities, the 2030 Agenda, the UNDP strategic plan, and clearly derived from the respective UN Sustainable Development Cooperation frameworks. Progress and setbacks coexist in our region. Human development is rising, though gains are uneven. And as the 2025 Human Development Report underlines, the next few years will be decisive for how societies harness AI and other technologies to broaden opportunity and human agency. This is especially true in our region. Despite stronger social protection and economic gains, inequalities persist. Demographic shifts are accelerating, trust in institutions and the social contract has weakened, and climate and environmental risks are mounting. The implication is clear. Now more than ever, we need coherent, country-led and nationally owned responses that protect hard-won gains, build resilience, and keep the SDGs on track. This next generation of CPDs anticipates a rapidly evolving development landscape. Let me now briefly highlight key features of each. In Armenia, UNDP will contribute to strengthening resilience, inclusive socioeconomic development, climate action, and effective governance while addressing the continued impact of the refugee crisis. In Belarus, the focus is on fostering a resilient economy, advancing digital transformation and green technologies, reducing regional disparities, and enhancing access to quality education, healthcare, and social protection. In Bosnia and Herzegovina, the CPD addresses human capital development, inclusive green growth, as well as accountable institutions and social cohesion. In Kazakhstan, UNDP will support economic diversification, inclusive governance, climate resilience, and a reduction of rural-urban disparities. In North Macedonia, the program supports inclusive social and human development, sustainable economy and decent work, green transition, by focusing on local governance reform, youth inclusion, and digital transformation. In Serbia, the CPD prioritizes inclusive and effective governance, knowledge-based economy, and future-ready workforce, as well as resilient communities and environmental protection. For Kosovo, focuses on human capital development, accountable governance, the rule of law, and social cohesion, and sustainable economic development. In Turkey, building on lessons from the 2023 earthquake response, and the country's role as the host of one of the world's largest refugee population, UNDP will support local governance, rural development, green and digital transformation, climate resilience, and zero waste initiatives. In Turkmenistan, the CPD contributes to economic development, the expansion of digital governance, stronger health system, and advance the country's climate agenda. In Uzbekistan, the program focuses on strengthening access to justice, anti-corruption, employment, rural development, and resilience, with special attention to the RLC region. Finally, let me acknowledge the trust and partnership of member states, particularly program countries, that finance their own development priorities through government development co-financing. And to our donors, your support is the engine that turns ambition into measurable results. And I'm looking forward to the Executive Board's approval, and I thank you all.
Gracias a usted.
Thank you, Madam. I will now open the floor in order for the delegations: North Macedonia, Armenia, Turkmenistan, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Turkey, and the Russian Federation. North Macedonia, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished members of the Executive Board, it is with pleasure that I address you today on behalf of the government of my country to express our sincere appreciation for the continued partnership and support of the UNDP. This year marks 30 years of a strong and enduring partnership since UNDP established its presence in our country. We warmly welcome the new UNDP country program as part of the UN Sustainable Development Cooperation Framework for 2630. This program arrives at a critical time for our country. We are firmly committed to the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and to our European Union accession process. Our National Development Strategy 2444 lays out a transformative vision focused on competitiveness, human capital, and good governance. These priorities are clearly reflected in the 4 strategic pillars of the UN SDC CFI, and we are pleased to see UNDP aligning its efforts with our national objectives. We value UNDP deep and long-standing engagement in areas vital to our development: inclusive social services, economic opportunities, local governance, digital transformation, environmental sustainability, and climate resilience. Importantly, this program reflects our shared commitment to leave no one behind, addressing the need of youth, women, Roma communities, persons with disability, and other vulnerable groups. The results we have achieved together so far speak to the strength of this partnership, from job creation in the care economy and support for local governance to pioneering green financing and enhancing our climate reporting capacity. UNDP has been a trusted partner in building a more resilient and inclusive country. As we face ongoing challenges from demographic decline and economic transition to climate risk and institutional reform, we see the new country program as a key instrument to unlock solutions, attract investment, and accelerate progress toward the Sustainable Development Goals. We reaffirm our full support for the implementation of this program and our readiness to work closely with UNDP, other UN agencies, donors, and stakeholders to ensure its success. Together, through shared commitment and coordinated action, we can continue to build a stronger, greener, and more equitable future for all our citizens. We therefore express our full support for the ongoing UNDP program and call upon the Executive Board to continue backing these efforts, which are crucial to achieving a more resilient, inclusive, and sustainable future for all our citizens. I thank you.
Gracias a usted por su declaración.
Thank you for your statement. Armenia, please.
Thank you, President. At the outset, I would like to thank distinguished Regional Director for presenting the priorities of the UNDP country program document for Armenia for 2026-2030 and express Armenia's strong support for its adoption. This document is a result of an inclusive, multi-stakeholder consultation process, engaging government institutions, civil society, academia, the private sector, and our development partners. We are pleased to note that this country program document is fully aligned with Armenia's national priorities and long-term development strategies. It is also in line with the objectives in the new UN Sustainable Development Cooperation Framework for Armenia for 2026-2030, ensuring coherence and complementarity in the UN country team's support to Armenia's development agenda under the guidance and leadership of the Resident Coordinator's Office. We particularly commend the CPD's focus on 3 interlinked areas of advancing inclusive social economic development, accelerating green transition, and strengthening resilience to climate change and natural disasters, and strengthening democratic governance and institutions, and safeguarding human rights. We value the CPD's integrated approach across humanitarian response, development, and peace, together with strong emphasis on evidence-based programming and innovative financing. With Armenia's incoming presidency of the Biodiversity COP17, the CPD's reinvigorated focus on environmental agenda will serve as an important accelerator for our country's green transition. Mr. President, Armenia values the long-standing partnership and cooperation with the UNDP. We stand ready to work closely to translate this ambitious program into tangible results on the ground. We are confident that this CPD will serve as a strong framework to advance Armenia's sustainable development and resilience in the years to come. I thank you.
A usted por su declaración.
Thank you for your statement. Turkmenistan, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished members of the Executive Board, UNDP leadership, dear colleagues. The government of Turkmenistan attached great importance to its long-standing partnership with the United Nations Development Programme. For over 3 decades, UNDP has been a strategic and reliable partner in supporting our national priorities in sustainable development, governance, digitalization, healthcare, environmental protection, and economic diversification. We highly value the inclusive and constructive process through which the new UNDP country program document for Turkmenistan was prepared, in close consultation with government counterparts, civil society, youth, women and men, and other stakeholders. As it has been mentioned by Ms. Zhivkovic, the new program fully aligns with Turkmenistan's national program for social economic development and reflects our strong commitment to the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. It will help strengthen governance and digital transformation, promote a greener and more diversified economy, build climate resilience, and expand equitable access to quality healthcare and social services. The government of Turkmenistan is pleased to extend its full support to the new UNDP country program document. We are confident that its implementation will further enhance national capacities, foster innovation, and accelerate progress toward the sustainable development goals, ensuring that no one is left behind. In conclusion, I wish to express our sincere appreciation to UNDP country office team and regional bureau for their constructive engagement, technical expertise, and continued support in advancing Turkmenistan's development priorities. Thank you.
Gracias a usted por su...
Thank you for your statement. I now give the floor to the Ambassador of Bosnia and Herzegovina. You have the floor.
Mr. President, Excellencies, it's a privilege to address the Executive Board on occasion of the presentation of the country program document for Bosnia and Herzegovina 2026-2030. This country program document is more than a planning tool. It is a roadmap that defines how Bosnia and Herzegovina intends to advance its development path in full alignment with the UNDP strategic plan 2026-2029 and the 2030 agenda. Its 3 priorities: inclusive green growth, human capital development, and accountable institutions, speak directly to the challenges and opportunities of our time. Excellencies, as particular important guiding framework for us is the Secretary General July report, Seizing the Moment of Opportunity, Supercharging the New Era of Renewable Efficiency and Electrification. This report highlights with urgency what Bosnia and Herzegovina recognizes as a national priority: to accelerate renewable energy deployment, improve energy efficiency, and expand electrification as the backbone of our green transition. For Bosnia and Herzegovina, these are not abstract aspirations. The transition to renewables and widespread electrification is central to reducing dependence on fossil fuels, improving air quality, and lowering costs for households and businesses. At the same time, it is a powerful driver of economic modernization, social equity, and integration with the European Union. But to seize this opportunity, we need a deeper and sustained engagement from UNDP and the wider UN development system. Beyond technical projects, we require UNDP leadership in supporting new legislation, regulatory reform, and institutional capacity building that will allow Bosnia and Herzegovina to unlock large-scale investments in renewable energy, set ambitious energy efficiency standards, and modernize its electricity grids. This is where UNDP global expertise and convening power can make the decisive difference, helping us design the policies and framework that will turn ambition into measurable progress. Excellencies, Bosnia and Herzegovina has already shown that what is possible when we work together, from retrofitting thousands of public buildings to empowering youth and women through digital innovation. With this new CPD and with deeper engagement of the UN ecosystem, we are determined to go further together. We are committed to translating this vision into tangible results for our citizens. Together, through stronger solidarity and partnership, we can supercharge the clean energy transition and deliver development that is just, green, and inclusive, leaving no one beyond. Thank you. 15 seconds to go.
As always, thank you, Ambassador. Me parece haber visto al representante.
I think I saw the permanent representative of Turkey. I'll give you the floor, followed by Belarus. Turkey, please.
Mr. President, distinguished members of the board, I would like to thank Regional Director for presenting Turkey's country program document. We are proud to have a long-standing cooperation with the UNDP since 1960s. It has evolved over the years into a strategic partnership at the national, regional, and global levels. With the Office of Resident Representative in Ankara, Regional Service of Regional Bureau for Europe and CIS in Istanbul, as well as Istanbul Center for Private Sector in Development, UNDP maintains a significant presence in Turkey, covering not only country and regional, but also global level operations. UNDP Istanbul International Center for Private Sector in Development plays an important role in strengthening the private sector towards achieving the 2030 agenda. As a program country, Turkey has greatly benefited from the UNDP's consistent support. Turkey welcomes renewed partnership under the country program document for 26 to 30, which provides a robust framework to support the achievement of our national goals outlined in the 12th Development Plan and Vision 2053, in line with Agenda 22 and SDGs. We greatly appreciate that the document is a result of an inclusive and consultative process with UNDP's close engagement with national stakeholders. The program embodies a collaborative approach that will advance Turkey's development efforts while further strengthening our partnership with the UNDP. Looking ahead, Turkey reaffirms its readiness to work closely with the UNDP in implementing and monitoring this ambitious program. We are confident that this cooperation will enhance our institutional capacities and generate meaningful contributions in line with our national development agenda. To this end, Turkey welcomes adoption of the CPD by the Executive Board today. In closing, Turkey expresses its sincere gratitude to the UNDP leadership and team. Thank you.
Gracias a usted.
Thank you for your statement. We will now give the floor to Belarus, who will be followed by Serbia. Belarus, please.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, we're grateful for the presentation of the draft UNDP country program document for Belarus for the period 2026 to 2030. Belarus welcomes the constructive nature of our cooperation with UNDP, in particular that with the country office in Minsk, thanks to which, and despite the difficult financial situation, it has been possible to come up with a balanced document that reflects our national priorities. We expect that the country program will contribute in significant areas such as human development and well-being for all, sustainable and large-scale economic transformations, and a safe and clean environment. It will help expand access for vulnerable population groups to social services. It will help to improve the quality of services in the quality of life in the regions and reduce inequalities between the urban and rural populations. It will also support the sustainable management of natural ecosystems and reduce the risk of disasters. The country program was developed in close cooperation with national institutions and is in line with the national strategy for sustainable and socio-economic development in the Republic of Belarus for the period up to 2030. It is also in line with the draft National Sustainable Development Strategy for the period up to 2040. A comprehensive approach in implementing the targets in the program will be ensured through maintaining a sustained partnership with financial institutions, regulatory bodies, and the private sector. We see significant potential in our cooperation with the UN Development Programme, and we call upon the Executive Board to approve the proposed country programme for the long-term period. Thank you very much.
Gracias a usted por.
Thank you for your statement. I now give the floor to Serbia, please.
The Republic of Serbia expresses gratitude to the UNFPA office in Belgrade for the cooperation to date and for its dedication in implementing joint programs and initiatives. Our partnership has contributed to achieving progress in several areas of key importance, which relates above all to improving the position of women and young people, promoting gender equality, improving healthcare, as well as strengthening institutional capacities. At the same time, we draw attention to the fact that challenges and room for further progress still exist, especially in areas that require long-term investments and continuous support. The UNFPA ERAS cooperation program document, which is today the subject of adoption, constitutes the basics for the continuation of the reliable partnership between UNFPA and Republic of Serbia, which is of great importance for overcoming the identified challenges. In that regard, we once again underline that Republic of Serbia is to the greatest extent in agreement with the text of the program document. However, as we pointed out on several occasions during the process of harmonizing the text, we again note that in the annex, which is an integral part of the program document for Serbia and which relates to the autonomous province of Kosovo and Metohija, which is under the provisional mandate of the United Nations in accordance with the UN Security Council Resolution 1244, neither the problem of Serbian community nor the difficult position of the Kosovo Serbs on the territory of autonomous province of Kosovo and Metohija is presented in an adequate manner. Planned UNFPA activities are not visible that would improve the position of members of the Serbian community in Kosovo and Metohija, above all children, youth, women, and elderly persons who are exposed to daily and multiple discrimination. We appeal to UNFPA when carrying out its activities in Kosovo and Metohija to devote adequate attention to this issue. We believe that there is a room and that UNFPA will make efforts to adequately consider and implement in the field that which is not contained in the annex of the program document for Serbia. The Republic of Serbia remains committed to constructive cooperation with your agency with the aim of jointly contributing to the implementation of 2030 agenda to the common contribution to the well-being of all citizens of Republic of Serbia. Thank you.
Gracias.
Thank you. Last of all, I give the floor to the Russian Federation, and thank you for your patience. Mr. President, the Russian Federation supports the adoption of all of the UNDP country program documents that were approved, supported by governments. And we note that it is primarily governments that bear primary responsibility for the development of their countries, and therefore they have the full right to independently determine the parameters of their cooperation with the UN development system. Russia, in turn, intends to make its contribution to the implementation of a number of UNDP country programs. Our country traditionally refrains from interfering in the preparation of country programs, but we would like to ask about a technical aspect of the preparation of these documents. We noted that for the 5 years of the implementation of the country program for Belarus, the population of which is more than 10 million people, from the UNDP regular budget, they plan to allocate $2,565. Allow me to repeat that again, $2,565. Meanwhile, for example, the country program for North Macedonia, which has a population of around 2 million people, they plan to allocate from the regular budget $2,050,000. These financing disparities are baffling. And in that regard, we would like to ask you how this mathematics works and what formula UNDP uses to allocate regular budget funds to the support of country programs. Thank you.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Para una breve respuesta.
I give the floor to the director for a brief response.
Thank you to all the member states for supporting the country program documents. UNDP is proud to accompany you on the next leg of the development path. On the comment from the Russian Federation on the percentage of core that relates to overall envelopes of our country program documents, I just want to point out that we also did that calculation, and we can also follow up in writing, but in some of the countries, this core component is from 0, in most of the countries, 0 to 2%, while for Belarus, we commit 6% of our core budget for the country program. So Belarus is quite a bit more represented when it comes to UNDP's own resources. And it's not $2,500, it's $2.5 million. But we're very happy to unpack this further with the representatives of Russian Federation. Thank you.
Gracias.
Thank you. This concludes our review of the country program documents for Armenia, Belarus, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Kazakhstan, Republic of North Macedonia, and Serbia, including the results and resources framework for Kosovo as an addendum, Turkey, Turkmenistan, and Uzbekistan, in accordance with Executive Board Decision 2014/7. If I hear no objections, I will take it that the Executive Board wishes to approve these UNDP country program documents for the aforementioned countries. I see no objections. It is so decided. I now give the floor to the Regional Director to present the country program documents for China, Indonesia, and Timor-Leste. You have the floor.
Honorable Chair, distinguished members of the Executive Board, I wish to start by recognizing the distinguished delegates from China, Indonesia, and Timor-Leste, and I'm honored to present their country programs for 2026 to 2029. These CPDs are being introduced at a pivotal moment for the Asia-Pacific, as the region contends with global economic uncertainties, escalating climate and disaster impacts, growing debt, and persistent inequalities. These overlapping challenges threaten human development progress. I deeply appreciate the regular policy dialogues with our ambassadors from the region that underscored, most recently, that our path forward in the Asia-Pacific depends on 4 major transformations: advancing the green economy and energy transitions, driving innovation, particularly in AI and digital, securing affordable climate and development finance, and ensuring the will to introduce and manage robust policy and governance reforms. These will be key for the reduction of poverty and well-being of all people in this region. Of course, understanding that the pace and scale of such transitions and adaptations will be different by country capability and context. So this new generation of UNDP country programs in front of you today are designed with our host countries and stakeholders to manage the intersecting drivers of development transformation amid ongoing turbulence. The priorities of each CPD are grounded in national development visions and plans, aligned with global commitments to the SDGs, and framed by UNDP's strategic plan and the UN cooperation frameworks for each country. These are in accordance with the existing agreements of the General Assembly and the Executive Board. So I thank you all for that clear guidance. The 3 country programs are also the result of broad consultations and feedback received from our board members, the analysis of data and practice, application of foresight for risk and what lies ahead, and findings from independent evaluations. Now, these are never static markers, and we will closely monitor progress and adapt our approaches throughout implementation. National governments continue to invest resources and capabilities in UNDP's efforts alongside our donor partners. Regarding our work specifically in China, I would like to offer the following clarifications to matters raised on Monday. According to World Bank data, which is used by UNDP in line with the Executive Board decision on this matter, the country continues to be classified as an upper middle income country and is not anticipated by the World Bank or IMF to attain net contributor country status during the current CPD cycle. Second, UNDP and the government of China remain firmly committed to ensure a transition plan as soon as China attains NCC status, as done with all NCCs. These are all well-regulated and clear directives from you, our board. And we closely follow this across all countries to avoid any confusion or misinterpretation. Finally, the annual Track 1 resources assigned to every upper middle income country, and that includes China, is as defined by the Executive Board. There is no diversion of resources from other countries. So let me conclude by saying, I wish development was a final destination. Unfortunately, it isn't, not for any country. While focus and forms evolve, human development and well-being remain a continuous work in progress. So thank you for your trust and support. The world needs this togetherness and solidarity, as does UNDP. And I look forward to your positive consideration of our 3 new CPDs, and thank you for approving the 2 extensions for Afghanistan and Myanmar. Thank you.
Gracias, señora Gugna.
Thank you, Ms. Wignaraja, for your presentation. The floor is now open for comments, and I will provide an opportunity to speak in line with the order that people asked to speak. So I first have Indonesia, followed by Timor-Leste, and then China. Indonesia, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. At the outset, I thank ASG Kani Wignaraja for presenting the draft country program for Indonesia for the year 2026-2030. We also convey our sincere appreciation to UNDP as a long-standing and constructive partner with Indonesia. For decades, UNDP has been a reliable partner for Indonesia's journey of transformation, providing important policy and technical advice in advancing human development, promoting sustainability, and strengthening governance. As Indonesia advances further our development and commits to contribute in addressing global challenges, we see our partnership with UNDP not only growing stronger, but becoming even more strategic. In this regard, Indonesia is pleased to extend our support for the approval of CPD of Indonesia for 2026-2030. Mr. President, Indonesia places a great importance on close consultation. A document shaped by relevant stakeholders will carry the ownership of all, and a strategy rooted in consultation will yield results that endure. Therefore, we highly value UNDP's engagement with line ministries, local government, civil society, and the private sector in the process of formulating the CPD. Equally important, CPD must speak directly to national priorities. For that, we welcome that the CPD also aligns with Indonesia's national priorities as enshrined in the Astacita vision of Golden Indonesia 2045, as well as our national and long-term development plans. Anchoring the CPD to Indonesia's development policy is critical, not only to ensure coherence and scaling up impacts, but more importantly, national ownership. Mr. President, with only 5 more years remaining before 2030, partnership is no longer an option, but necessity. Indonesia is looking forward to the effective implementation of the CPD, particularly in supporting a resilient Indonesia's economy and community. We are confident that through continued collaboration, Indonesia and UNDP can deliver transformative and impactful results for our people and contribute meaningfully to global sustainable development. Thank you.
Gracias.
Thank you. Thank you for your statement. And I give the floor to Timor-Leste, followed by China.
Mr. President, at the outset, I would like to thank you for giving me the floor. I also commend the UNDP for its comprehensive presentation of the country program document for Timor-Leste covering the period 2026-2030. Since Timor-Leste restored its independence in 2002, UNDP has played a vital role in supporting the country's democratic transition, fostering inclusive development, and helping to build foundational national institutions. Mr. President, we appreciate the UNDP and key government institutions for their comprehensive consultations, which involve a broad range of stakeholders, including municipal and village councils, academic institutions, civil society organizations, ministerial bodies, and youth networks. As a result, the CPD authentically captured the aspirations and concerns of Timor-Leste communities across the nation. The UNDP Country Program document is firmly anchored in the United Nations Sustainable Development Cooperation Framework, ensuring strategic coherence across all UN entities. It provides direct support to Timor-Leste's National Strategic Development Plan and responds to the country's designation as both a least developed country and a small island developing state. The CPD strategically aligns its interventions with the dual priorities, reducing vulnerability and promoting responsible resource management, reflecting Timor-Leste's enduring vision of inclusive prosperity, social harmony, and ecological sustainability. The CPD's four strategic pillars, social inclusion, economic development, climate resilience, and democratic governance, are closely aligned with both the Sustainable Development Goals and Timor-Leste Strategic Development Plan. Core values such as gender equality and the commitment to leave no one behind are integrated throughout. Broad stakeholders engaged will strengthen impact and encourage innovation. This program transcends its role as lifeline, serving instead as a strategic catalyst for fostering economic resilience and advancing self-reliance, particularly in the context of declining global development assistance. It is expected to drive economic diversification, reinforce domestic resource mobilization, and strengthen national capacities, thereby enabling Timor-Leste to forge an independent path toward sustainable development. We are confident that every investment will generate tangible and measurable outcomes. In conclusion, Timor-Leste reaffirms its support for the full implementation of this program document, driven by collective resolve, innovative, and dedication to improving the lives of all Timorese. The country's development depends on a strong partnership with international cooperation and UN agencies. This program document demonstrates Timor-Leste's unwavering commitment to a future that is inclusive, resilient, and self-sufficient. It functions as a strategic guide to turn Timor-Leste's national development vision into measurable progress. I thank you.
Gracias.
Thank you for your statement. China, please, go ahead.
主席
Chair, China thanks ESG Carney for her introduction of China's new country program. Appreciates the work of UNDP, especially the representative office in China, and thanks the Executive Board members for their participation and contributions. I also would like to thank the Chinese team for their efforts to this end. China is still facing prominent in terms of insufficient development and imbalance of development, and there are still gaps in the implementation of sustainable development goals in remote areas and vulnerable groups. So the experience and use of practice of UNDP are crucial. The China UNDP country program focuses on poverty reduction, rural revitalization, green development, low carbon, and other practical needs. It fully reflects the ownership and leadership of program countries, and is in line with the UN framework for cooperation with China on sustainable development. The program development process has been open and transparent, with full consultations in Beijing and New York to ensure broad participation by all parties. As the largest developing country and the second largest contributor to the UN, China has long maintained its voluntary contributions to UNDP and has taken practical action to uphold the proposed UN development pillar. China is still a developing country. China will adhere to its position as a developing country for a long time and continue to cooperate with the UNDP through country programs in accordance with the relevant rules and decisions of the Executive Board, and promote the in-depth relationship with the UNDP, as well as promote the 20th Agenda through trilateral cooperation. At the time when the world is in turmoil and there's a huge gap in financing for sustainable development, it is more urgent than ever to reinvigorate multilateralism and support development pillar of the UN. for which the Executive Board and its members have an important responsibility. China calls on the Executive Board, under the leadership of the President, to place development at the center of its agenda and focus on the important principle of consensus to support the adoption of a China country program and oppose political maneuvering and join together in a united voice in the support of multilateralism on the occasion of the 80th anniversary of the founding of the UN. Thank you, Chair.
Gracias a usted.
Thank you for your statement. This concludes our review of the country program documents for China, Indonesia, and Timor-Leste in accordance with Executive Board Decision 2014/7. I have been informed that we should consider the lack of objection to these programs on an individual basis for each of these countries, so we will proceed as such. If I hear no objection, I will take it that the Executive Board wishes to approve the UNDP country program documents for Timor-Leste. I see no objections. It is so decided. If I hear no objections, I will take it that the Executive Board wishes to approve the UNDP country program document for Indonesia. I see no objections. It is so decided. If I hear no objections, I will take it that the Executive Board wishes to approve the UNDP country program document for China.
Ofrezco la palabra.
I give the floor to the delegation of the United States.
Mr. President, the United States has an objection and wishes to request a vote on the decision to adopt the country program document for China. The United States will not support initiatives that do not align with U.S. priorities. As an executive board member, the United States takes its oversight responsibilities over agency operations and how they allocate their resources seriously, including for the UNDP country program document for China for 2026 to 2030. China is the world's second largest economy, a country that can fund its own space program and build aircraft carriers should fund its own development. Every UNDP dollar spent in China is one less for countries that truly depend on that funding. Letting China draw on UNDP resources risks subsidizing one country's geopolitical agenda under a multilateral umbrella. The UN was formed to support the vulnerable, not underwrite geopolitical ambitions of a major power. This is why we are requesting a vote and voting against this country program document. We know that China is watching every vote, and many countries cannot take a stance on this issue, fearing aggressive retaliation. We are not afraid to stand up, and we are not afraid to state that scarce resources should not be diverted to member states that can manage their own development priorities. Moving forward, we urge the Executive Board to ensure justifiable criteria, not political self-identification, serve as the basis for resource allocation by UNDP. The United States also strongly objects to the UN's promotion of any member state's foreign or development policy, including the Global Development Initiative. Mr. President, thank you for the opportunity to request a vote and deliver this explanation of vote.
Gracias.
Thank you for your statement.
China ha solicitado.
China has requested the floor, and I give them the floor.
Mr. President, the U.S. asked for a vote for the CPT. China is disappointed, and we firmly oppose the U.S. Baseless accusations. It's the U.S. that is suppressing and smearing other countries, and China's CPT is focuses on the needs of a green economy and uneven development. This fully reflects the important principle of CPT owned and led by the country. This is in line with the international norms and standards, and it's has solid foundation. Any country's development needs to start from a trickling to a big flush. Therefore, the efforts of the Chinese development progress for years, for decades, we've been helped by the UNDP. We are grateful for their development, and it took us a long time to be part of this development process. Leaving no one behind is not a slogan, and it's an important commitment we've made. China is the second largest economy in the world and the second contributor to the assessed contribution. We have been making great contribution to the development and the peace. China has always been a developing country, and we are connected in destiny with the global south. China has provided selfless assistance to developing countries in times of difficulties. We've been doing this at the same time. In the future, we'll continue to do that. China will continue to abide by the rules of the Executive Board, and we will use the model provided by the EB and communicate with the world. China is an ocean that has always been here and will always be here. And today's world is in turmoil, and all parties should provide development financing when it is most needed, rather than like what the US has been doing, cutting off funding and rejecting the 2030 agenda, sticking to cooperation and solidarity. We hope that we will continue to use the rules and regulations of the UNDP, and we hope that the members will vote to be consistent with the rules. And we will use the occasion of the 80th anniversary of the UN to voice our support for development and multilateralism, and the world is looking at us. Thank you.
Gracias a usted por.
Thank you for your statement. We have seen that a vote has been requested.
Vote has been requested on the UNDP country program document for China. On the procedures, delegations are reminded that in accordance with Rule 15, Paragraph 2 of the Rules of Procedure of the Executive Board of UNDP, UNFPA UNOPS, in case of a vote, the rules of procedure for the Economic and Social Council shall apply. Delegations are also reminded that in accordance with Rule 62 of the Rules of Procedure of the Economic and Social Council, los representantes podrán hacer breves.
Representatives will be able to make brief statements which consist solely of an explanation of their vote, either before the vote begins or after the voting is concluded.
El representante.
The representative of a member sponsoring a motion can only take the floor again if there is an amendment, which is not the case.
Make brief statements consisting solely of explanation of their votes before the voting has commenced or after the voting has been completed. Just to be clear, explanation of vote may be made only by members of the Executive Board. As such, does any member of the Executive Board wish to make a statement in explanation of vote before the vote? The Executive Board will now vote on the UNDP country program document for China. It is recalled that in accordance with Rule 60 of the Rules of Procedure of the Council, the required majority for the adoptions of decision is a simply majority of present and voting. Artículo 60 de las reglas.
Rule 60 of the Rules of Procedure of the Economic and Social Council. Number 1. Decisions of the Council shall be made by a majority of the members present and voting.
In accordance with Rule 63 of the Rules of Procedure of the Economic and Social Council, después de que el presidente haya...
After the President announces the beginning of the vote, no representative may interrupt it unless it's a matter of order to do with the way that the voting is being carried out.
He sido informado.
I have been informed by the Secretariat that we have a quorum for making decisions. Is that the case, Madam Secretary?
Executive Board members, I kindly requested to indicate their votes.
The Executive Board is now voting on the UNDP country program document for China. Delegations voting in favor of the approval of the UNDP country program document for China, please indicate now. Yes, please allow us to do this. Delegations voting against, please indicate now. Delegations abstaining, please indicate now. May I request all Executive Board members to confirm that their votes are accurately reflected on the screen. The voting has been completed. Please lock the voting machine.
Thank you for sharing with me the screen. The result of the vote is as follows. In favor, 34 votes, against 1, no abstentions. Accordingly, the Executive Board has approved the UNDP country program document for China. It is so decided. Does any member of the Executive Board wish to make a statement in explanation of vote after the vote? I was fighting with the technology as we also were fighting with this screen, but you know, it's Murphy's Law. Anyway, con esto concluye el examen.
This concludes our review of Agenda Item 6, the UNDP country programme documents and other documents for this session of the UNDP Executive Board. We will now move on to UNFPA.
Un breve receso.
We'll just have a brief pause to change the podium around.
Mr. President.
If Diane wants to come,
Colleagues, please take your seats. Distinguished delegates.
Por favor, please take your seats. We are about to start a new segment. Procederemos ahora.
We shall now proceed to Agenda Item 10, UNFPA country programmes and related matters. I welcome to the podium Ms. Lydia Sigomo, Regional Director of East and Southern Africa, Mr. Senan Hunton, Regional Director, West and Central Africa, Ms. Florence Bauer, Regional Director for Eastern Europe and Central Asia, and Mr. Pio Smith, Regional Director for Asia and the Pacific. I see the Executive Director on the podium, and I also welcome Ms. Bien Keita. 15 country programme documents are presented for review and approval in accordance with Executive Board's Decision 2014/7. For East and Southern Africa, Eswatini. For West and Central Africa, Côte d'Ivoire and Liberia. For Eastern Europe and Central Asia, Armenia, Belarus, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Kazakhstan, North Macedonia, Serbia, including the results and resources framework for Kosovo as an addendum, Turkey, Turkmenistan and Uzbekistan. For the Asia and Pacific region, China, Indonesia and Timor-Leste. The Executive Board had also requested to approve the fourth one-year extensions of the country programmes for Burkina Faso and Myanmar, to approve the fifth one-year extension of the country program for the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, to approve the fifth two-year extension of the country program for Afghanistan, to approve the second one-year extension of the country program for Yemen, and to take note of the first one-year extensions of the country programs for Lebanon, Libya, South Sudan, and Tunisia. I now give the floor, rather before I give the floor to the regional directors to present their documents for the regions they deal with, I'd first like to address the extensions of the country programs. If there are no objections, I will take it that the Executive Board wishes to approve the fourth one-year extension of the programs for Myanmar, the fifth one-year extension of the program for the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, as well as the fifth two-year extension to the program for Afghanistan, as presented in document DP FPA 2025/13. I see no objections. It is so decided. If there are no objections, I will take it that the Executive Board wishes to approve the second one-year extension of the country program for Yemen, as contained in document DP/FPA/2025/13. I see no objections. It is so decided. Lastly, if I hear no objections, I will take it that the Executive Board wishes to take note of the first one-year extensions of the country programs for Lebanon, Libya, and Tunisia, approved by the Executive Board as presented in document DP/FPA/2025/13. I see no objections. It is so decided. I now give the floor to Ms. Lydia Zigomo, Regional Director for Eastern Southern Africa, to present the country program document for Eswatini. You have the floor, Madam Director.
Thank you, Mr. President. Beneath Eswatini's sapphire skies, where rolling hills rise with ancient pride and cradle dreams still in bloom, a new chapter begins. In this kingdom, nestled in the heart of Southern Africa, the spirit of resilience dances with the promise of transformation. Mr. President, distinguished members of the board, the Kingdom of Eswatini, a lower middle income nation with a youthful demographic and rich in culture, stands at a pivotal juncture. With over 70% of the population under the age of 35, the country embodies immense potential. Yet challenges such as poverty, unemployment, and health disparities persist, intensified by global megatrends like climate change, urbanization, and deepening inequalities, which continue to shape its strategic development trajectory and exacerbate existing health risks and strain infrastructure. With a $7.6 million funding envelope, the UNFPA country program for Eswatini for 2026 to 2030 will directly address these challenges by strengthening the resilience of health systems and communities to ensure uninterrupted, equitable access to sexual and reproductive health services, particularly for vulnerable populations and young people, leveraging their potential for human capital growth and the demographic dividend. The program is firmly aligned with the Eswatini National Development Plan for 2023 to 2028, the 2030 Agenda, UNFPA's Strategic Plan, and the United Nations Sustainable Development Cooperation Framework for 2026 to 2030. This multi-layered alignment underscores a commitment to national ownership of development, paving the way for joint UN initiatives and innovative practices. The UNSDCF process, which informed the program's design, will continue to refine it through ongoing joint monitoring and evaluation with strong government leadership. Central to this is the acceleration of the ICPD agenda, focusing on evidence-based and human rights-based policies and implementation. Partnerships and resource mobilization remain critical, with strategies including co-financing, development impact bonds, and engaging non-traditional donors to ensure sustainable funding for the ICPD agenda. Mr. President, I thank the government of Eswatini for its sustained leadership in advancing progress towards achieving the 2030 global goals in Eswatini. I also extend my appreciation to our development partners and donors for their support. We look forward to continued collaboration. Thank you.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much for your statement. I'll now open the floor for comments or questions. Eswatini, please.
Mr. President, members of the Executive Board, Excellencies, distinguished colleagues, on behalf of the Kingdom of Eswatini, I would like to express my appreciation for the long-standing partnership we have enjoyed with UNFPA spanning over 5 decades. This collaboration has significantly contributed to improving the quality of life for women, young people, and communities through the implementation of evidence-based country programs. The proposed 8-country program for 2026 to 2030 builds on this solid foundation between the government of Eswatini and UNFPA. Its development was highly consultative and engaged a broad range of stakeholders, including young people, persons with disabilities, civil society organizations, development partners, and academia, as well as government ministries. We commend the achievements of the current program, particularly its impact on advancing the sexual and reproductive health and rights for women and girls. Notable achievements thus far include the prevention of unintended pregnancies, unsafe abortions, maternal deaths. UNFPA support data for development was strengthened through increased availability of disaggregated evidence-based data at the national level. This was achieved through several key initiatives, including the Eswatini Population and Housing Census 2017 monographs and the Demographic and Housing Survey of 2022. Additionally, data was made available through small area estimation and an extensive review of the national population policy, which facilitated the integration of population variables into national planning processes. Mr. President, we are pleased that the 8-country program is fully aligned with Eswatini's National Development Plan for 2023 to 2028 and the United Nations Sustainable Development Cooperation Framework for 2026 to 2030. The program will contribute to 7 SDGs while also advancing the voluntary national commitments of ICPD, amongst other commitments. In conclusion, Mr. President, the government of Eswatini recognizes the collective efforts required to achieve national development results and the SDGs. Hence, we look forward to the continued collaboration with UNFPA, UN agencies, development partners, private sector, and local stakeholders in the implementation of the program. My delegation therefore respectfully calls on the Executive Board to approve the 8-country program. I thank you.
Gracias a usted por su declaración.
Thank you for your statement. This concludes our review of the country program document for Eswatini in accordance with Executive Board Decision 2014/7. If I hear no objections, I will take it that the Executive Board wishes to approve these UNFPA country program document. I see no objections. It is so decided. If I hear no objections, I will take it that the Executive Board wishes to take note of the first 1-year extension of the country program for South Sudan, which has been approved by the Executive Director as presented in document DP/FPA/2025/13. I see no objections. It is so decided. We will now deal with West and Central Africa, Côte d'Ivoire and Liberia. I now give the floor to Mr. Hunton, Regional Director, to present the country program documents for Côte d'Ivoire and Liberia. Sir, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. President, distinguished member of the Executive Board, it is my honor to present for your consideration the 9-country program document for Côte d'Ivoire and the 6-country program document for Liberia, covering the period of 2026-2030. These programs are far more than technical frameworks building on the achievement of the current country programs. They are a statement of trust and shared ambition between UNFPA and the government of Côte d'Ivoire and Liberia to continue achieving results. They are rooted in the 3 foundational pillars of the United Nations: development, peace and security, and human rights, and are fully aligned with the national priorities, the 2030 Agenda and SDGs, the African Union Agenda 2063, the UN Sustainable Development Cooperation Framework, and the forthcoming new UNFPA strategic plan. Together, the 2 programs represent a financial commitment of $111.4 million, of which 34.8 million in regular resources and 86.6 million to be mobilized through co-financing and other partnerships. Côte d'Ivoire has set an ambitious goal to reduce its maternal mortality ratio from 614 to 149 deaths per 100,000 live births by 2030. The country has already made significant progress, achieving 37% reduction between 2011 and 2021. This success is attributable to major efforts, including, among others, the establishment of a national network of health facilities providing quality emergency obstetric and neonatal care, now accessible to 9.4% of the population. Government efforts have also increased the use of modern contraception from 13% in 2011 to 18% in 2021, and reduced unmet need for family planning from 27% to 22%. To continue achieving results, the proposed program built on successes to strengthen equitable access to integrated, high-quality maternal and neonatal health facilities, family planning, and prevention of gender-based violence and harmful practices. In Liberia, remarkable strides have been made to reduce the maternal mortality ratio from 1,072 deaths per 100,000 live births in 2013 to 742 in 2020. An increase in availability of essential life-saving reproductive health drugs and medical supplies within the public health system is among the factors of this significant improvement. The proposed program will now aim for a further 40% reduction by 2029 as set out in its National Development Plan. The modern contraceptive prevalence rate rose from 19% in 2013 to 24% in 2020. However, modern contraception use among adolescent girls remain low at 16.4%. Through this proposed program, UNFPA will build on lessons learned and best practices with a particular focus on adolescent and girl and young women. It will advance youth and girl human capital, peace and security in line with Liberia's new Youth, Peace and Security National Action Plan. The CPDs in both countries will support the intentional and deliberate investment in young people, and both countries having recently completed modern geo-referenced population censuses, they are well positioned to track SDG progress and integrate population dynamic into planning and implementation. Mr. President, Your Excellencies, I wish to express my profound appreciation to the government of Côte d'Ivoire and Liberia for their steadfast leadership and commitment to improving the life of women, girls, and young people. I also extend my sincere gratitude to our donor and to the member of this executive board for your unwavering support to UNFPA country program, enabling us to turn bold commitment into measurable results. Thank you.
Gracias a usted, Director Regional.
I thank the Regional Director, and I now open the floor for any comments, if anyone would like to make any. Mr. Ambassador, you have the floor from Côte d'Ivoire.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, President, Excellencies, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. At the outset, I wish to express our most sincere gratitude to the UNFPA Board for their constant support to the Government of Côte d'Ivoire and our efforts to ensure sustainable and inclusive development for our population. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the cooperation programme, subject to review, is a result of a broad and inclusive consultation process involving, on the one hand, government institutions and civil society, as well as, on the other hand, the private sector and development partnerships. It's entirely aligned with the national priorities of my countries, defined in our National Development Plan 2026 to 2030, in line with the vision of the President of the Republic, His Excellency Mr. Alassane Ouattara, who has made human development and social inclusion a pillar. This 9th cooperation programme is also aligned with the cooperation framework of the UN for Sustainable Development 2026-2013, the Programme of Action of the Conference on Populations and Development, the Strategic UNFPA Plan, and the UNFPA Strategy in terms of Family Planning 2020 to 2030. This document, therefore, defines a strategic framework over 5 years with the vision of Côte d'Ivoire, where the potential of women, girls, and youth, particularly the most vulnerable, is fully achieved through a favourable and inclusive environment that ensures the exercise of their rights and the protection of the lives of mothers. In order to provide the means to achieve this noble vision, the 9th programme is part of a dynamic of consolidating the achievements made in the 8th cooperation programme, but also provides innovative and novel responses to challenges, including harnessing the demographic dividend thanks to strategic investments in education, health, and youth employment, pursuing the reduction of inequalities between the sexes, strengthening prevention mechanisms and gender-based violence, and improving women empowerment, extending the scope of application of the partnership with regional authorities for young community leaders. These strategic priorities are designed to overcome the challenges of achieving inclusive development and shared development in Côte d'Ivoire thanks to an integrated approach focused on human rights, dignity, and equality. To achieve these priorities, a total amount of $75 million will be required over the next 5 years. This programme is not only a strategic document, therefore, but what it is really is a common commitment from Côte d'Ivoire and the UNFPA to achieve results grounded in national ownership. For all of the above mentioned reasons, my delegation requests the adoption of this programme by the Executive Board and calls upon all partners to support its implementation. The Government of Côte d'Ivoire, through my voice, reaffirms its full commitment to this partnership and its successful achievement and delivery. Thank you very much, Mr. President. Thank you, says the President. Thank you for your statement. With this concludes our review of the country programme documents for Côte d'Ivoire and Liberia in accordance with Executive Board Decision 2014-7. If I see no objections, I will take it that the Executive Board wishes to approve these UNFPA country programme documents for the above mentioned countries. I see no objections. It is so decided. If I hear no objections, I will also take it that the Executive Board wishes to approve the 4th extension of the country programme for Burkina Faso as presented in document DP-FPA 2025-13. I see no objections. It is so decided.
Pasamos a la señora Flores.
We'll move now to Ms. Florence Bauer, Regional Director of Eastern Europe and Central Asia, to present the country programme documents in front of the board. You have the floor, Madam.
President, Excellency, distinguished delegates. It is an honor to present the new country program from Eastern Europe and Central Asia covering Armenia, Belarus, Bosnia-Herzegovina, Kazakhstan, North Macedonia, Serbia, including the addendum for Kosovo as per UN Security Council Resolution 1244, Turkey, Turkmenistan, and Uzbekistan. These programs reflect our shared commitment and vision for the next 5 years in a region undergoing profound geopolitical uncertainty and development transition. The region is shaped by megatrends, particularly demographic shift. Countries in Eastern Europe and the Western Balkans are experiencing population aging, low fertility, and youth out-migration. In contrast, the countries in Central Asia experience relatively high fertility rates and population growth with large youth population, creating opportunities for reaping a demographic and gender dividend. To respond to this context, all our programs are centered on the concept of demographic resilience, a forward-looking, evidence and right-based framework that enables societies to adapt to demographic change and invest in inclusive, people-centered development. Our programs were shaped by the specific context and ongoing regional megatrend with a strategic focus on upstream and lasting change. Our approach supports government to harness high-quality data and demographic foresight to develop inclusive policies and long-term strategy. This includes support for active aging, family-friendly labor policies, and access to quality health and education system for young people. Aligned with the 2030 Agenda and the SDGs, we aim to deepen national ownership, support innovation, and promote stronger UN collaboration. The ICPD agenda is a powerful accelerator for achieving the SDGs, and each program contributes to the realization of the three transformative results. Under maternal health, as most countries have managed to reduce mortality, attention now extends to other preventable causes of reproductive health-related deaths. Programs in Bosnia-Herzegovina, Kazakhstan, and Turkmenistan, for example, will expand cervical cancer prevention. Family planning is reframed around enabling people to realize their fertility intention, acknowledging diverse trends from no fertility to concerns about infertility in the Armenia and Serbia country program, for example, researching the infertility rise in Turkey, addressing barriers to realizing fertility intentions in North Macedonia, or using digital tools in Belarus. Initiatives to prevent and respond to gender-based violence and harmful practices are integrated, for example, in the Uzbekistan program with specific focus on engaging men, boys, and community leaders. The programs also include elements of humanitarian preparedness and response, resilience building, and peace development humanitarian nexus. Across the board, we prioritize lasting institutional change, supporting national efforts towards long-term capacity strengthening. This builds on UNFPA's normative mandate, its strong in-country presence, technical expertise, and ability to bring together diverse stakeholders, which is our comparative advantage in the region for which we are appreciated by government and partners. All programs are derived from and fully aligned with the UN Sustainable Development Cooperation frameworks and reflect the priorities of the forthcoming UNFPA Strategic Plan 26-29. They were developed with governments, UN country teams, and other partners, and closely respond to national priority. UNFPA's work is deeply embedded with the UNDS reform process demonstrated by strong interagency collaboration. Accelerating partnership and resource mobilization are central to implementation. The total program value of this program is 117 million, with 38 million in regular resources and 79 million to be mobilized through partnerships, including national co-financing, which we hope to see grow. On behalf of the region and the millions of women, girls, and young people we serve, I thank the member states as well as our donor and partners for their continued trust, engagement, and support. We very much look forward to the approval by the Executive Board of these new programs, and we look forward to our continued close collaboration. I thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Regional Director Bauer. Ahora ofreceré.
I will now give the floor to states for comments, if they so request it. And I see on my list Turkey, followed by Kazakhstan. Ambassador of Turkey, you have the floor.
President, distinguished members of the board, I would like to thank the Regional Director for presenting Turkey's country program document. Taking this opportunity, I would also like to congratulate Ms. Diane Keita for her nomination by the Secretary General for the position of Executive Director. We look forward to working with her in the coming period. UNFPA holds a distinguished place in Turkey as one of the first UN agencies to establish operations in our country. Our partnership dates back to the 70s and has been consistently productive and mutually beneficial. In 1988, this collaboration was further strengthened and structured through successive 5-year country programs, providing a solid framework to guide our joint efforts. Over the years, Turkey and UNFPA have worked closely to advance community well-being, with particular emphasis on safeguarding the health, rights, and empowerment of women and youth. Turkey welcomes renewed partnership under the country program document for 26 to 30. From our perspective, the CPD's focus on expanding access to essential health services for women, empowering youth, supporting families, and protecting women and girls aligns closely with Turkey's national development priorities. We particularly appreciate the program's commitment to tackling violence against women, reducing care burdens, and promoting gender equality in economic participation. The emphasis on integrating demographic considerations into the policy planning is also highly valued, especially in addressing challenges such as aging populations, declining fertility, and shifting family dynamics. Furthermore, we recognize the importance of holistic youth policies, particularly for girls and young women. In this context, Turkey would welcome adoption of the CPD. We look forward to continuing this partnership with UNFPA in a manner that reflects our national priorities and specific needs while delivering tangible results for women and youth. Let me conclude by expressing our sincere gratitude to UNFPA leadership and team. We are confident that together we will advance our cooperation with renewed commitment under the new country program. Thank you again.
Gracias a usted por su declaración.
Thank you for your statement. Kazakhstan, followed by Bosnia and Herzegovina. Kazakhstan, you have the floor.
Mr. Chair, Madam Acting Executive Director Keita, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, Kazakhstan thanks Regional Director Bauer for her presentation of the new country program document for 2026-2030 and extends its sincere appreciation to the entire UNFPA team for their diligent work in preparing this comprehensive document. We are pleased to confirm that this six-country program document was developed in close collaboration with the government of Kazakhstan, civil society partners, and other key stakeholders. This inclusive and consultative process has been vital in ensuring strong national ownership of the program's objectives. The program is fully aligned with our national development agenda, particularly the Kazakhstan 2050 strategy, and directly supports our goals for modernizing healthcare, improving quality of life, and advancing gender equality. We also commend the program's strong alignment with the new UNFPA strategic plan, the principles of the ICPD program of action, and the 2030 agenda. We strongly support the program's key priorities, particularly improving health outcomes by reducing the rate of preventable maternal death and empowering our adolescents and young people with comprehensive life skills-based education. We also wish to highlight our support for the focus on tackling gender-based violence by transforming discriminatory social norms and scaling up the multi-sectoral response. This is fully aligned with our recent legislative reforms criminalizing domestic violence. Therefore, Kazakhstan endorses this country program document and reaffirms its steadfast partnership with UNFPA. With UNFPA's support, we have already made significant strides towards the three transformative results. We are confident that the successful implementation of the program will further accelerate our progress and deliver significant benefits for the people of Kazakhstan. Thank you.
Gracias a usted, colega.
Thank you. Bosnia and Herzegovina, please.
Mr. President, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it's an honor to address you on occasion of the presentation of the new UNFPA country program document for Bosnia and Herzegovina for 2026-2030. Allow me to express my deep appreciation to UNFPA for its continued support and for the collaborative spirit with which the program has been prepared. The challenges for my country faces are well known. Demographic shifts, low birth rates, and migration continues to shape our society. At the same time, we must respond to the needs of young people, strengthen access to the health services, and ensure equality and dignity, especially for women and girls in every community. This new program provides a strong framework to address exactly these priorities in a way that is both strategic and people-centered. We particularly welcome UNFPA's emphasis on universal access to sexual and reproductive health services, on reducing disparities for rural women, and on harnessing innovation and digital tools in healthcare. These efforts will directly improve the quality of life of our citizens and contribute to the social cohesion. Equally important is the program's commitment to ending gender-biased violence and ensuring protection and empowerment of survivors. Bosnia and Herzegovina attaches the highest importance to this work, as it is not only a human rights imperative, but also fundamental to building more just and inclusive society. Excellencies, young people are the heart of our future, regardless of where they will live on the planet. The program's focus on youth participation, education, and empowerment reflects our shared belief that no sustainable transformation is possible without them. Bosnia and Herzegovina sees its young generation as a bridge between stability at home and progress toward our European Union path. Finally, we welcome UNFPA's approach of work across all levels of governance and with diverse patterns, from local organizations to academia and to private sector. This ensures not only broader reach, but also sustainability of results aligned with our path toward the European Union and Agenda 2030 for Sustainable Development. Let me stress that Bosnia and Herzegovina values UNFPA not only as an implementing partner, but also as trusted advisor. The coming years will require close cooperation in shaping forward-looking policies, new legislative framework, and partnership that can ensure demographic resilience and gender equality for generations to come. On behalf of my country, I reaffirm our strong support for this country program document and our readiness to work with UNFPA and all partners to tune these commitments in reality, ensuring that development is inclusive, equitable, and leaves no one behind. Thank you.
Una sólida presentación en
A very solid presentation in 2 minutes, 55 seconds, as we're used to. Thank you very much and congratulations, Minister. Armenia, followed by Turkmenistan, please.
Mr. President, Excellencies, distinguished members of the Executive Board, we thank UNFPA's Regional Director for Eastern Europe and Central Asia, Ms. Florence Bauer, for the presentation of the UNFPA Country Program document for Armenia. Armenia highly values its result-oriented cooperation with UNFPA, which has been pivotal in advancing women's and youth empowerment, addressing gender-based violence, ensuring disability inclusion, and supporting vulnerable groups. Building upon the lessons learned from the previous cycle, the new CPD provides a comprehensive, forward-looking foundation for fostering human development. By prioritizing accessible, high-quality sexual and reproductive health services, preventing gender-based violence, promoting youth inclusion, and strengthening demographic resilience, the program seeks to safeguard the rights, health, and dignity of women and young people while enabling all members of society to reach their full potential. Importantly, the country program document aligns with and supports the implementation of the demographic strategy of Armenia 2024-2040, which was elaborated in close collaboration with the UNFPA country office in Armenia. We specifically welcome the CPD's emphasis on the vulnerable groups, in particular refugees and people with disabilities, with their rights and needs prioritized across all outputs, ensuring their inclusion across all interventions and program activities. The CPD for Armenia was developed through close, transparent collaboration between the UNFPA and the government of Armenia in line with national priorities, needs, and existing strategies. The process incorporated broad and inclusive consultations with line ministries, the national human rights institutions, civil society organizations, and development partners, underscoring the program participatory and successful approach. It fully aligns with the priorities and objectives envisaged in the new UN Sustainable Development Cooperation Framework of Armenia for 2026-2030, ensuring a coherent and complementary UN country team support to Armenia's development agenda under the guidance and leadership of Resident Coordinator's Office. Mr. President, as an upcoming member of the Executive Board, Armenia attaches particular importance to UNFPA's work within the UN development system. We greatly value the organization's commitment to human-centered pragmatic activities and stand ready to further strengthen effective cooperation aimed at achieving the objectives outlined in the country program document. I thank you.
Thank you for your statement. Turkmenistan, followed by North Macedonia. Turkmenistan has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished members of the Executive Board, UNFPA leadership, dear colleagues. At the outset, I would like to thank Ms. Bauer for her presentation of the new country program document for Turkmenistan. For over 30 years, Turkmenistan has been strengthening a strong partnership with UNFPA. Together, we have advanced the right of women and girls, improved access to health services, and supporting the implementation of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. With UNFPA support, Turkmenistan has made tangible progress, including reducing preventable maternal death, successfully conducted the 2022 population and housing census, carried out a nationwide survey on domestic violence, and advancing key strategies on reproductive, maternal, newborn, and adolescent health, gender equality, and youth policy. These efforts have been further strengthened through annual work plans jointly developed with the relevant ministries and state institutions. Dear colleagues, the new country program document that was presented today is the result of broad consultations with the government, civil society, and communities, ensuring the voices of women, men, youth, and vulnerable groups are reflected. It sets out clear priorities, advancing unmet needs in family planning, combating gender-based violence, and further reducing preventable maternal death. These goals align closely with Turkmenistan's National Program for Social Economic Development. We fully support the new program document and welcome its inclusive, forward-looking approach. We also extend our sincere appreciation to the UNFPA Regional Bureau and Country Office for their dedicated engagement and partnership. Thank you.
Gracias a usted, colega.
Thank you very much. North Macedonia, followed by Uzbekistan, and lastly, Belarus. North Macedonia, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Excellencies, distinguished members of the Executive Board, it is with pleasure that I address you today on behalf of the government of my country to express our support for the third country program document covering the period 2026-2030. Let me express our sincere gratitude to the Regional Director, Ms. Bauer, for presenting this important and vital document for our country. This CPD represents a critical roadmap for our collaborative efforts with UNFPA to achieve our shared vision that by 2030, my country is built into a demographically resilient and socially inclusive society that supports everyone's potential by closing the inequality gaps and empowering all individuals through the human capital lens. President, the government of my country and national partners have been actively engaged in the development of this CPD from the beginning. The process entailed consultations with a wide range of partners such as the government entities and bodies, civil society organizations, youth networks, women group, academia, the private sector, the UN, and other development partners. The second CPD yielded significant progress, such as integration of mobile gynecological services into the national health system and budget to reach to those left behind. Improving GBV response through strengthening multi-sectoral response and SOS helplines, using census data and the conducted 2023 population projections to inform national strategies, strengthening service provider capacities for sexual and reproductive health and gender-based violence of people with disabilities, adopting the National Youth Strategy 2023-2027. Finally, UNFPA is the government's key partner in shaping a demographically resilient society firmly rooted in the national priorities. Distinguished members of the Executive Board, the third CPD builds upon the achievement of the previous CPD and will accelerate progress toward UNFPA three transformative results aimed at addressing the demographic trends that shape the foundation for a demographically resilient society as our national priority. To build a truly resilient society, harnessing the existing population potential is critical. This means prioritizing those who are left behind, ensuring that no group is overlooked. The envisaged life cycle approach of the CPD entails focused, integrated intervention tailored to the needs of the different population groups. President, it is a pleasure for me to report that the UNFPA third CPD is guided by my country National Development Strategy 2024-2044 and the UN Sustainable Development Cooperation Framework 2026-2030. This CPD incorporates lessons learned from the previous programs and reflects our strong commitment to the program of action of the International Conference on Population and Development and reaching the SDG. Our government is fully dedicated to sustain collaboration, the successful implementation.
Gracias a usted por.
Thank you for your statement. Uzbekistan, followed by Belarus, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished participants and dear members of the Executive Board, first of all, I would like to thank Ms. Bauer for the insightful presentation. For over 3 decades, UNFPA has been a trusted partner in helping Uzbekistan anticipate and respond to demographic trends. Our collaboration has played a vital role in advancing the Uzbekistan 2030 strategy, accelerating progress on the Sustainable Development Goals, and strengthening national capacity to integrate population dynamics into inclusive and sustainable development policies. With UNFPA support, over the past 5 years, Uzbekistan has achieved significant progress. For example, reduced maternal mortality to historical lows, modernized 230 perinatal centers, and launched the country's first national cervical cancer screening program. Expanded access to family planning services through a 5-fold increase in public funding, diversification of contraceptive methods, and strengthened service delivery, particularly in rural and remote areas. Established comprehensive social protection services for vulnerable women across all regions, supported by stronger legislation, trained service providers, and community-based efforts to challenge harmful social norms. Built robust population data systems, preparing for our first census in 30 years, producing demographic projections through 2050, and developing Uzbekistan's first demographic resilience strategy. The new UNFPA country program document comes at exactly the right moment, fully aligned with Uzbekistan's strategy 2030 and national SDG targets. It offers strong potential to help the country leverage both demographic and gender dividends by advancing reproductive health, maternal health, and family planning, promoting women's empowerment, strengthening population data systems and evidence-based policymaking, reducing regional disparities by prioritizing underserved and remote areas. The 2026-2030 country program document will enable Uzbekistan to transform its demographic opportunity into lasting dividends by strengthening human capital, empowering women and youth, shifting social norms, and embedding data-driven decision-making across all sectors. We value our long-standing partnership with UNFPA and strongly support the adoption of this new CPD. We look forward to continuing our collaboration to ensure that every woman, every young person, and every community can contribute to and fully benefit from Uzbekistan's sustainable development. Thank you.
Gracias a usted, finalmente.
Thank you, and last of all, Belarus. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, Belarus appreciates the UNFPA country program for the period 2026 to 2030 and would like to thank the UNFPA office in Belarus for its constructive cooperation in the preparation of this document. The program aims to support the implementation of our national demographic priorities that are outlined in the draft National Sustainable Development Strategy for the period up to 2040, in particular, the stabilization of the population and improving the population's health indicators. The program is in line with our national healthcare priorities. It will help increase the motivation of people of various different ages to lead a healthy way of life, to increase life expectancy for men and women, and it will also help expand educational programs for young people. The program also aims to support the National Plan of Action on ensuring gender equality, which includes, among other things, providing equal opportunities for men and women to combine their professional development with their family obligations and childcare. The program focuses on the use of digital technologies and innovation in various different areas, which shows a far-sighted approach and is in line with Belarus's efforts to introduce advanced information technologies in every area
you.